Welcome to another edition of the Sultan of Small Talk. I'm Chris Carbone. Today we're going to talk about selling, getting what you want now, and here are a few tips and tricks that are going to help you get there.
How did you get this number? I told you never to call me on the red phone. So what I was thinking was, when I was coming up with this talk, that sometimes children are the best salespeople. The way that they approach their own sales tactics are like precious. Well, at least in my house they are. So I started thinking about some of the things that they do right. First thing I would remember if I were you is try to be more like a kindergartner. And this is the approach. Do more showing than telling. The fact of the matter is demonstrations are awesome when you use them right. The fact of the matter is it seems like it's a dying thing, and I think we need to bring them back. If you've got a product and you're a product salesperson, you really want to show the benefits of ownership of that to the prospective buyer. So do a demonstration. Let's understand exactly how this works and how it's going to, integrate in your life. And so if you think about it, when you go on Amazon, you might look for pictures of something you're interested in, but when they have a product demonstration video, you probably get more engaged. And this works really well in infomercials. They like to show the product so the person sitting at home can understand how it's going to be applied to their own lives. Of course, it can go really awry, like in this video clip right here, which just makes me laugh, but most times you can nail it.
Right here, push the button and that releases it, and then after you let go, it locks. Firmly in place, so really, you're all set. And this is tough.
It is?
Listen, give you an example. Say you have you have to get up on the wall, high ceiling, vault the ceiling. Hey, listen, just walk right up. And I tell you, it's very safe, it's durable, and it's lightweight.
You're scaring me.
So really, see,
wow.
Now it's locked in place, okay? So really, you say,
oh God, Harold, are you okay?
actually, I didn't have it locked. You have to lock it. Once you lock it, you're okay. But it is very safe to operate.
So in this episode, we're talking all about selling. So maybe you're in a situation where you just created a new business and you need to sell the concept through to investors. Or you are in a sales capacity where you have to sell as a commission-based salesperson, and that's really important to you. Or maybe you're just like me and you got to sell your wife on the notion why we need to buy a bus on eBay so we could go ahead and travel the country in style and safely with all of the kids in tow. That's what I'm talking about. Anyhow.
Did you sell me on that?
Well, maybe you don't sell everybody. The fact of the matter is, maybe I didn't sell her on that notion, but you gotta know the tricks, some of the techniques that work for selling in any situation. Something I have found works really well is just being really excited and really relatable to the person that you're dealing with. Sometimes leading with a really funny story or something that happened that was just crazy with your kids today. If they've got kids, I always find that bantering about the kids seems to work out very well. But being positive and upbeat and comical or just relatable to their situation works out excellent, so you can build that relationship and take it to a different level. I've noticed that I've developed a bit of a 70-30 rule. At least that's what we're going to call it. It seems like if you were to follow me in the sales process, you would find out quickly that I don't spend all that much time talking about products and benefits and the service and trying to lead the entire conversation all through the product or the sale. In fact, most of the conversation, 70% of it, it turns out, happens to be just conversation and building that relationship. Of course, you're not there just to socialize, and you're going to want to spend a good deal of time on the purpose that you're there. But I find that it works pretty good if it's about 30%. It doesn't mean that it has to start out at 30% and then you just drift away into the 70%, but incorporating a lot of the questions and answers and opening up to that person seems to be the best flow for me. Another thing that my kids do, especially when we get into the store, is they have like a pursuit to win whatever that thing is that's on their mind. Whether it is they saw the balloon on the checkout floor that they need to have, or they need to have the Spider-Man whatever, they will start in with the sale. They will say, Mommy, I need this. Daddy, can you just get it? You don't give me anything. And we could say no, and we can say no. And like, no. They don't even start turning it on. The salesmanship doesn't even start until like the 7th no. And here's what I realize. When we as adults that are salesmen that do this for a profession, we stop way before 7. We stop somewhere at 1. 1 no and 1 rejection, and then people are generally turning tail and going the other direction and not pursuing them as a client. But you know what's interesting? The fact of the matter is, when you follow up and you continue to pursue beyond the first no, beyond the first hang up, you'll find out that people sometimes need 5, 6, 7 touches before they'll actually say yes.
Daddy, I want this house.
No, we're not gonna get this house. It's too big.
But we are gonna have our own rooms. But Dad, look at the landscaping. But Dad, there's a fountain in everything. I love fountains. But Dad, look at the architecture. Built-in equity.
Built-in equity? Wow, what a smart salesman we got here. He just wants this house. Dad, what do you think about that? It's gonna happen?
Broke just looking at this house.
Did he sell you on it?
It's pretty good. You got to remember, why do we like the things that we like? We have to like it. We have to get engaged emotionally to want to purchase it. We are giving up something very precious, right? And that important thing is our money. The money that we've accumulated, it represents a lot to us. So you've got to give them enough compelling reason to go ahead and purchase. But focus on the emotional element. All too often, people just think of the stats and the figures and the reasons why they should do it. And you know, the logical step is to do this because it's going to be good for your family. People don't always buy. In fact, rarely buy on logic. They oftentimes buy on emotion and later justify it with logic. So keep that in mind. Will anyone subscribe to this or like this? The outcome does not look good. I gotta tell you, attitude is critical. What you do when you go in there is super important. Not just what you say, but it's the way that you present yourself. The amount of confidence that you have going into the talk, the conversation, the sales pitch, whatever it happens to be. I don't know what the format's going to be in this scenario, but if you seem weak or feeble or unsure, guess what? It's going to be pretty obvious to everyone else. So you just got to go in there having a good time. And I oftentimes look at it this way. They do not know what your sales pitch is going to be. So if you've got something that's really canned and you want it to be perfect and you've been practicing it in the mirror, if that's your style, I got to just say, they do not know what the pitch is going to be. They don't know what you were going to tell them. So if you forgot 2 or 3 of those points, they're not going to know. So have a bit more confidence. You know a lot more about what you're going to tell them than they know what you're going to say. So don't forget that. So how do you close this thing? Firstly, so many people I find when I watch them sell, they fail to ask for the business. You can't ever forget that you're there to ask. And oftentimes they're so close, but if they don't ask, the person does not decide to engage in whatever that sale is. So you don't have to be relentless. I personally don't like it when people are dogged about it, and I call it car salesman-like, but I don't want to offend anyone who's a car salesman, but you know, aggressive. Don't be aggressive. Give them the ability to say no and not feel a certain degree of shame or guilt for doing it, but help them see why they would benefit from saying yes. And maybe you haven't done a good enough job explaining what it does and how it's going to truly benefit them. So if they object at least once or twice, it's normally an indication that they don't have enough information yet to make a decision. So maybe you have to continue there. And therefore you need to kind of find out a bit more, uncover a few more details as to what might be keeping them back. Maybe it's finances, because so many people think, maybe they're just assuming their price is too expensive. That's unfortunately the number one thing we think about as a salesperson. But that's not always what's keeping people back. Maybe they're worried about how this is going to look if they purchase without speaking to their wife, that kind of thing. So find out a little bit more, see what they're grappling with, and then see how you can help them make that decision. I'm definitely not trying to tackle this huge project of selling all in one 10 or 12 minute talk. It would be ridiculous to think that way. There's a lifetime of learning that really goes into perfecting your profession. So what I would say is this: always be open-minded to learning. Don't be so assumptive that you've got it all figured out. I am constantly opening a book or listening to a lecture, or well, when it wasn't COVID times, going to a presentation so that I can glean 1, 2, maybe 3 more nuggets of wisdom, some pearls that I could utilize and maybe, store with me so that I'll have that information at the ready when I'm in front of a potential prospect. So what I would say to you is, if you're a reader, continue to read. If you're not a reader, use your car. That's what I do. I use the commute, either the commute into work or the commute to a client, to learn more about what I don't know, or maybe refresh some of the things that I'm very familiar with. So the other thing you could probably do is on audio, you could just set up while you're doing cardio workouts. Just listen, because you're going to be amazed the amount that you retain just in background music or background conversation. Thanks so much. This is another edition of the Sultan of Small Talk. If you had a great experience, I'd love for you to like that button. Even if you had a crummy experience, I'd love for you to hit the like button. If you had a lousy experience, a like button might just change this format altogether for next week. We're going to do this every week on Mondays, so subscribe and hit that bell and you'll be notified as soon as the next video is ready.